Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're thrilled to have you here with us today. Today, we're diving into one of history's biggest tragedies, the Titanic. This ship has fascinated people for over a century, and its story is filled with drama, heroism, and mystery. We all know the basics, right? The so-called unsinkable ship hits an iceberg and tragically sinks to the bottom of the ocean. But is that really the whole story? But what if I told you that a lot of what you think you know about the Titanic is totally wrong? Many of the details we've come to accept as fact are actually myths. Get ready to have your minds blown because we're about to uncover the truth behind 10 Titanic myths that have been floating around for way too long. These myths have been perpetuated by movies, books, and even word of mouth. We're talking about those stories you heard on the playground, saw in movies, or maybe even read in textbooks. Yeah, some of those are straight up false. It's time to set the record straight. So buckle up, because we're about to go deeper than James Cameron ever did. We're going to explore the depths of the ocean and the depths of history to bring you the real story. It's time to separate fact from fiction and uncover the real story of what happened on that fateful night. Let's go. We'll look at the construction of the ship, the events leading up to the disaster, and the aftermath that changed maritime laws forever. We'll also delve into the lives of the passengers and crew, examining their stories and the decisions that led to the tragedy. This is more than just a history lesson. It's a journey into the heart of one of the most compelling stories ever told. So, stay tuned as we debunk these myths and reveal the truths that have been hidden beneath the waves for over 100 years. This is going to be an eye-opening experience you won't want to miss. You've heard it a million times. The Titanic was said to be unsinkable. This phrase has echoed through history, becoming almost synonymous with the ship itself. But where did this idea even come from? How did a ship earn such a bold reputation? Well, back in the day, the Titanic was a big deal, the largest ship ever built at the time. It was a marvel of modern engineering, a floating palace that captured the imagination of the world. Newspapers and even the White Star Line, the company that owned the Titanic, boasted about its advanced safety features, like the watertight compartments. These compartments were designed to seal off sections of the ship in case of a breach, making it seem invincible. They made it seem like this ship could withstand anything, even the impossible. The public was fascinated by the idea of a ship that could defy the odds, and people ate it up. The allure of the Titanic was irresistible. It wasn't just a ship, it was a symbol of human ingenuity and progress. But here's the thing. Unsinkable was more of a marketing tactic than a fact. The term unsinkable was used to sell tickets and build hype, not to guarantee safety. While the Titanic was designed to stay afloat even if some compartments flooded, no one imagined the sheer scale of the damage the iceberg would inflict. The collision was catastrophic, breaching multiple compartments and sealing the ship's fate. They thought they were prepared for anything, but sometimes Mother Nature has other plans. The tragedy of the Titanic serves as a stark reminder that no matter how advanced our technology, we are still at the mercy of the natural world. Another popular myth claims the Titanic was pushing its limits to set a new speed record across the Atlantic. This idea has captured the imagination of many, painting a picture of a ship racing against time and nature. It's easy to imagine the pressure to be the fastest, right? The early 20th century was a time of fierce competition among ocean liners, each vying for the title of the fastest ship. The Blue Ribbon, an unofficial accolade given to the passenger liner crossing the Atlantic Ocean with the record highest speed, was a coveted prize. But hold on. While the Titanic was a fast ship for its time, it wasn't going full throttle that night. The ship was designed for luxury and comfort, not just speed. Its engines were powerful, but they were not being pushed to their maximum capacity. In fact, there's evidence they even slowed down after receiving iceberg warnings from other ships. Captain Edward Smith and his crew were well aware of the dangers that lay ahead. They received multiple warnings about icebergs in the vicinity, and these were taken seriously. So why were they going so fast in the first place? Well, they were on a schedule, and delays meant unhappy passengers. The Titanic was on its maiden voyage and there was immense pressure to arrive on time. Passengers had tight schedules, and any delay could cause a ripple effect of inconvenience. Plus, the North Atlantic in April is known for icebergs, so they were trying to make good time while navigating a potentially dangerous area. The route was notorious for its icy waters, and the crew had to balance speed with caution. It was a calculated risk, but as we know, it didn't pay off. The tragic collision with an iceberg led to one of the most infamous maritime disasters in history. The story of the Titanic serves as a poignant reminder of the perils of prioritizing speed over safety. This one's a head-scratcher. The story goes that the Titanic's lookouts, the guys responsible for spotting danger ahead, didn't have binoculars, which contributed to the disaster. And guess what? This one's actually true. The lookouts did request binoculars, but for some reason they were locked away in a storage compartment and the key was missing. Now, imagine being responsible for spotting a giant chunk of ice in the dark with just your eyes. Not easy, right? While we can't say for sure if binoculars would have prevented the collision, it definitely would have given the crew more time to react. Talk about a major oversight. Chapter 4. This one's a real tearjerker. The image of the band playing Nearer My God to Thee as the Titanic sinks is forever etched in our minds thanks to movies and TV shows. But hold on, while it's a powerful image, the truth about the band's final moments is a bit murky. Survivors gave conflicting accounts of what song was played last. Some say it was Nearer My God to Thee, while others recall hymns like Autumn or even ragtime tunes. The truth is, no one knows for sure what the band played in those final moments, but one thing's for certain. Their music provided comfort and courage to those on board during the chaos. Their bravery and selflessness will never be forgotten. Chapter 5. The Titanic is often credited with being the first ship to use the SOS distress signal. It's a dramatic detail that adds to the story, right? But here's the thing. The SOS signal was already in use before the Titanic set sail. It had been adopted as the international distress signal a few years earlier. The Titanic actually sent out both SOS and the older CQD distress call, hoping to reach as many ships as possible. So, while the Titanic's use of SOS wasn't a first, it did help solidify the signal's importance in maritime history. It's a reminder that even in tragedy, progress can be made. Chapter 6. Some people believe the Titanic's design was inherently flawed, leading to its demise. And it's true that there were some design elements that weren't perfect. For example, the watertight compartments, while advanced for their time, didn't extend high enough on the hull. This meant that if too many compartments flooded, water could spill over the top, dooming the ship. But here's the thing. The Titanic's design was actually considered state-of-the-art at the time. It was the sheer size of the iceberg and the force of the impact that proved to be too much for even the most advanced ship of its era. Sometimes, even the best engineering can't account for every possibility. Chapter 7. Myth number 7. Cursed by a mummy? Seriously? Okay, this one's just plain spooky. The story goes that the Titanic was cursed because it was carrying a cursed Egyptian mummy. Apparently, bad luck followed anyone who came into contact with the mummy, and the Titanic was no exception. But come on guys, this is pure superstition. There's no evidence that a mummy was ever on board the Titanic, let alone a cursed one. This myth likely originated in the years after the sinking as people tried to make sense of the tragedy. It's a reminder that sometimes the simplest explanation is the best one. Accidents happen. One of the most heartbreaking myths surrounding the Titanic is that third-class passengers were intentionally locked below deck as the ship sank, preventing them from reaching the lifeboats. This is simply not true. While it's true that third-class passengers faced language barriers and a more complex route to the boat deck, there's no evidence of any deliberate attempt to keep them trapped. In fact, many third-class passengers did manage to reach the lifeboats, but tragically, there weren't enough lifeboats for everyone on board. The class system did play a role in who survived, but it wasn't because of locked doors. It was a matter of access, resources, and ultimately, luck. Captain Edward Smith, the man at the helm of the Titanic, has been unfairly portrayed as a reckless drunk who went down with his ship because he was intoxicated. This couldn't be further from the truth. There's no credible evidence to suggest that Captain Smith was drunk on the night of the sinking. In fact, survivors described him as calm and collected, even in the face of disaster. He bravely stayed on the bridge, guiding the evacuation and ultimately going down with his ship. Let's set the record straight. Captain Smith was a seasoned sailor who made a tragic error in judgment, but he was not drunk. For decades, people believed the Titanic had sunk to the bottom of the ocean in one piece, a haunting reminder of the tragedy. But when the wreckage was finally discovered in 1985, the truth was revealed. The Titanic had actually broken in two. As the ship sank, the immense pressure caused it to snap apart, with the bow and stern sections separating and sinking independently. This discovery revolutionized our understanding of the sinking and put to rest one of the most enduring myths surrounding the Titanic. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more amazing content. See you next time.